Turn me up in the headphones. That's right, we live. Welcome back to another episode. You know what? I'm not even gonna call it an episode, right? Because what I am, I'm not an influencer. I don't go by that name. I'm not a social media guy. I don't go by that name. Okay. I am a philosopher. I am Lil Shadamis. I am a guy who's not scared to give their opinion no matter what. Okay. I'm the real. That's what I am. So you know what? It's not an episode. It's a show. It's information. That's what we're going to do right now. So, welcome back to another show of information with heavy opinions. The Real Lil Show is that. And I'm the Real Lil, and I'm going to give y'all episode. I'm excited not only because of what happened yesterday. I mean, yesterday, March 10th, will go down in history as one of the biggest days and weirdest days of professional sports that I could remember. That's not in December, right? I just wanted to rhyme there. Nothing about December really means anything other than the sports calendar. But what it means for me today to be on here is that I had a busy week with work in my life. And the fact that I get to come up here and have a little bit of time to give this show to y'all, I'm not going to take an episode like this for granted. So, boy, oh boy, those of y'all right now that is listening to the Can You Dig Sports Radio Network that's going to watch this video on Spotify and YouTube, we have a show for y'all in place, and it's a stacked show. We are going to talk about Bam Adebayo. Who would have thought he would have been the one to score 83 and break Kobe's record? We're going to talk about that and some debate behind that. We're also going to talk about a weird sense of developments going on with Maxx Crosby. We thought he was a Raven. That's so Raven. Yeah, he's not a Raven. He's a Raider still. And y'all are haters still. So make sure if y'all don't want to be a hater still, like and subscribe to the channel and tell a friend about this show. I got my guy Lee Jones back in the building. He's ready to kill it and debate with me about these topics. Lee, what's going on?
What's happening, Lil? Hey, great sports day. We got NFL free agency. Lot going on there, and then also Bam just went off last night. We're gonna jump into that. So man, I'm hot. I'm ready to go. Ready to dive into that thing, man.
And before we do, I forgot to mention that later on, for those of y'all listening on the Can You Dig Sports Radio Network, we are going to air a segment that was previously done on Lee Jones After the Buzzer podcast, where we talk about the NIL and sort of the culture behind it and all players coachable. That's going to play after the music intermission. So stay tuned and locked in for that. We got a lot for y'all today. Now, let's begin. Bam, damn. Okay, Bam Adebayo, 83 points. But, but did tanking and free throw tactics ruin his historic 83-point game? Leader, Mike is yours to kick us off.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, congratulations to Bam Adebayo. Great job. No one would have ever thought that he would be the one that surpasses Kobe Bryant on the all-time single game scoring list, but it was a phenomenal effort from him. 7 3-pointers. I think he made 36 free throws. Just really playing out of his mind the whole game. Had 31 points in the first quarter, 43 for the half, and 60 after 3. He just was phenomenal. Now, Leo, you're the tanking expert. And you talk about tanking. I'm not a big person that thinks tanking is affecting the game as much as you think it does or others do. I don't think it was anything wrong with the way the game played out. Look, Bam came out hot. I mean, to get 31 points in the first quarter, he was making baskets. He was on fire. He was shooting the 3-point ball. Getting fouled as he went to the basket. It was just a great performance by a guy who came in the league, Leo. People thought he was going to be a rim protector, a rebounder, a good defender, but not a scorer. And, for the most part in his career, he's had some big outputs. I think the highest scoring game he had prior to last night was 41. And he's been a consistent scorer, but nothing like this. And then some people said he needed to be drug tested. I don't know about all that. The man was just on fire. But I don't think tanking had anything to do with it. I don't think even the fouls, even though, I think towards the end of the game, Spoelstra had the team fouling people so they could go to the line and so they can miss some shots. But that's part of it, Leo. That's part of it. It's part of a game. When you're on fire like that and you're scoring like that, and there's a chance for you to break an all-time record. Well, not break a record, because Wilt has the record, but surpass someone on that scoring list. You have to do what you have to do. The coach has to do it, and the players have to do it. So I was impressed with what Bam did. I don't think anything was wrong with it. People are jumping on Spoelstra because they think it was kind of Bush League. I don't. He kept him in the game because the record was at hand. He had 60 points after 3 quarters, so you have to keep him in the game and let him go for that record. The fouling is what it is. They wanted him to get more touches. I see nothing wrong with it, but kudos go to Bam. Great job. Very impressed, man, and built upon that. And for you to say you have the most points in a single game all time, and you put your name in the air with Wilt Chamberlain and Kobe Bryant, hey, that's a great accomplishment. So great job, man.
All right, man. Look, I'm going to give my take. And later on, what I'm going to do, Lee, before we leave this topic, and if I forget, please remind me, I want to play that clip of Ime Udoka. I want to get your thoughts on his reaction to what Bam did later on before we pass over to the next topic. Okay. But what I'm going to do here, and I'm going to answer the question. Look, I think Bam Adebayo's 83-point game is not ruined. However, it does expose how ruined the NBA is. Now, I'm going to talk about that part later on. I want to talk about Bam, and I want to give him credit because his take is nothing against him. I'm going to take another angle. So me and you probably will agree in regards to Bam, but we might disagree about the NBA because we have disagreed about the NBA in the past. Now, from a long-term perspective, the next generation, and this is why I don't think it's going to be ruined, is not going to care about the context of things in similar ways that I don't care about the context of Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game. Why? Because I never got to watch him play. When he scored 100 points, that was the year my dad was born, back in 1962. So if you think I care about something that happened in 1962, I'm sorry to tell you I don't. So the fact that it happened, I'm not going to be diving for the context. Was the teammates force feeding him the ball? I don't really care about that. As far as I know, he scored 100, and that's at the top of the list. Nobody has done so yet or passed it yet either. Now, for the generations after me, I'm pretty sure they're going to overlook the foul baiting, the Heat intentionally missing free throws, throwing the ball in triple coverage. All those people 40 years from now is not going to look at that or analyze that. They're going to look and see that Bam Adebayo scored 83 points, second most all time in the history of the NBA. Now, obviously, in the next 40 years, that could be surpassed. And in this current NBA, I won't be shocked if it is. But as long as it stands, they're going to see that Bam Adebayo scored 83 in that second all time. Forget about the context. Now, those who watch basketball now, like me and you, we know how easy it is to score in this NBA. We know it, as opposed to yesteryear. The same thing could be said in the NFL. That's why Mahomes is breaking records. I could easily add context to that because this is my era, and I watched the Tom Brady era and say, well, he get a lot of calls in his favor. The game is meant for the quarterback and the offense to succeed. But 40 years from now, people are going to see the stats and not contextualize anything. That's just the reality. So credit to Bam. And look, if you told me Bam would have scored 83, I would have thought you were joking. Out of all the per scorers in the NBA, that caught me off guard. I got to give him credit, even with the tactics and whatnot. Like, yeah, sure, it is what it is, but he still scored 83 points. Congrats to him. Phenomenal job. And he may not get that championship that he's looking for, but at least he will be able to go back in time and say, you know what, March 10th of 2026 is one of the highlight reels of my NBA career.
Leah, let me throw something at you, and because you came out and you said the tactics that was during the game. Throwing to him throwing to him on he's triple coverage. That's not a tactic. Hell, you got defensive players in front of him. Hey, stop him from getting the ball and scoring, right?
I mean, look.
The fouling at the end, missing shots. Hey, you missed a shot. They're playing. They have defensive rebounding position. Hell, get the rebound. So the things that his players were doing, it's not like they were. It was fake, and it allowed them to do it.
What happened last night?
They had to score.
No, I mean, to be fair, I'm not playing hating. I'm actually on Bam's side right now. I'm not.
Okay.
This is what happened last night is no different from any normal NBA game. They love to get to the free throw line. They shoot a lot of free throws, and sometimes they miss free throws to gain a competitive advantage. Maybe it's late in the game and you need to miss a free throw on purpose to maybe the clock run out or whatever reason it is. It's still manipulating the game, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's with the intention. The difference is the intention of manipulating the game is to win the game to some capacity. This one was for a stat, but either way, still the same type of, it's under the same jurisdiction is what I mean. So I'm not hating on Bam right now.
Right.
What I am going to say is that instead of people hating on Bam, they should come to the question they should take the route of, this is why the NBA is a product that, to me, again, Lee, you can hit me with these stats all you want till I turn blue. Okay. But from what I know, from what a lot of people I talk to, I know guys that don't watch any other sport but basketball tell me that they barely watched a game of basketball for the last couple of months. These are guys that don't watch football, probably watch a little bit of boxing, like my guy Kenny. So to my guy Kenny, he's a big boxing guy, barely watch football. I try to get him into football. He might watch a game or two here and there. Full NBA type of dude, doesn't watch NBA anymore. And the reason why I'm going to have this conversation is because two reasons. It shows me that the value of the regular season is about chasing stats more so than actual competitive basketball to win the game. The NBA has morphed the game to score more points. So eventually we knew when Donovan Mitchell scored 70, when Luka scored 70, when Joel Embiid scored 70, all in the threshold of the last 2 to 3 years, that it was eventually going to happen that somebody was going to pass Kobe. Now, did I believe it was going to be Bam? No, I did not. That's why I give Bam the credit. But I'm not shocked that it happened because that's what the league wants. The league incentivized players and call and change the game so they could allow more scoring. So the fact of the matter is, somebody breaking the record with attempted 43 free throws, I'm not shocked because, again, that's what the game has come down to. It's easy to get to the free throw line.
Yeah.
The Wizards tanking, that's a problem. Unfortunately, the NBA doesn't need to be reminded about that issue. Unfortunately, that was a part of the history. The Wizards tanking, which is a big NBA problem that was highly discussed over the last couple of months. So no matter how the NBA try to slice it and dice it, what I took away from it is not what Bam did to get there. I give Bam all the credit in the world because, again, I could have named you 30 to 40 guys that probably would have had a better shot to do it than Bam. I give him credit. But for me, it just highlighted a more bigger conversation that the NBA is a declining sport.
Yeah, well, I don't know about
no matter what the numbers say.
I don't know if it's a declining sport, Leo, but I'll give you some grace on this. The NBA season is way too long, right? It's 82 games. Now they do that because they have all of these new broadcast partners, and you got Prime and you got Netflix, you got all the different people that are broadcasting these games. So yeah, that season is long, 82 games, and so you're right. The importance on the regular season has lessened and lessened and lessened. It's not like old school days where every game mattered. I'll give you that. And I'll give you this. The rule changes have made it such that you have all of these people scoring 70 points. You're absolutely right on that. But you look across all of sports. Baseball rules have changed.
Yep.
Football
NFL,
rules definitely have changed to where these quarterbacks are doing all of this passing on the football and getting all these numbers.
Everybody breaking a record in every
and you're looking at people that you're knocking down the Joe Montanas of the world, the Dan Marinos of the world, who were just elite throwers of the football because the rules have changed, and even the rules against the receivers and how you can hit have changed. So it makes it a different game. There's no doubt about that. And so you look at all of it in proper context. Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game, Leo, they were fouling Wilt intentionally so that he could go to the free throw line because he was a poor free throw shooter. He just happened to make more free throws that night. So Wilt could have had 120 points that game because they were fouling him on purpose every time he came across court so he could shoot. That's the nature of how different basketball is today than it was when Wilt did it. So even to look at Wilt's 100, it's even more fascinating that they would put 3 and 4 people on him. As soon as he come across court, they foul him. So the game is totally different. But I'll say this. Rule changes are made for television. Rule changes are made to get people in the seats. And scoring matters. Scoring matters. The Heat was going to win that game irregardless last night. They were blowing Washington out. The fans stuck around because they saw an opportunity for history to be made, and that's why they stuck around. So it's a scoring league. All of the leagues are. Baseball has even went to scoring. So that's the different nature of sport. And so you and I always have this conversation about tanking in the NBA. I just think the NBA is in a great spot. Everybody on all the news reels this morning, they were talking about Bam scoring 83 points. That means the league is in good health and in a good spot.
A couple meat that's left on this bone. And look, excellent topic so far. I love where it's going. We off to a great start. But there's some meat that's on this bone that I want to wrap up on and I want to finish up. I still got more left to give here. Because when you think about it, and this is why I don't like rankings. I don't. Because you can't compare 2 eras of anything. Basketball, football, rap. For those that like to compare Nas with Kendrick, how the hell can you compare Kendrick Lamar, as great as he is, to Nas? You can't do it. Nas came up in an era with Biggie Smalls, Jay-Z, all those guys, Big L, Big Pun, and he was at the top of his game. Now, Kendrick now, I mean, J. Cole, Drake, you know, it's a different era. That doesn't take away from Kendrick and his ability. He's a hell of a rapper. That doesn't take away from Nas, clearly one of the GOATs of all time. So when you talk about the NBA, and I want to bring it back home, is Wilt Chamberlain. Yeah, a lot of people like to come at Wilt because they believe that back then guys weren't as skilled. And yeah, sure, that's an argument to be made there. But listen, I wasn't watching basketball. I wasn't even born around that time to know how good those players were. I would have to take it from somebody that been through all eras and whatnot. So again, when we talk about rankings, you know, yeah, sure. I mean, I guess you talk about it, you highlight it. It's the #1 topic on this show. You give Bam credit, but how much value you put in it, it's not about the fact that he went to the free throw line 43 times and whatnot. It's not the fact that they threw the ball in triple coverage. It's the fact that he's doing it in an NBA that is easier to do.
Fair.
So I'm not gonna blame Bam for that.
That's fair.
Now I would blame the NBA for that, but not Bam.
Great point, and it's certainly fair to make that assumption. You hit it on the head though, Lil, before you played the video from Ime. You can only play against the people in your era. So we can't magically take people from one era and put them in another. So you only can be judged by the era that you played in. So when you rank people and say who's the greatest and all of that stuff, people have to quit doing this. And I hate when people do this, Leo. Well, this, that, or the other. Or Wilt didn't play against. You don't know who Wilt played against. And there were 6'10" people there as well. You have to say you played in an era and that's what you played in. And you judge that person's accomplishments because it's about the basket. The GOAT is about the greatest player to ever play. Well, you played against who you played against. You know, Tom Brady's rules are totally different from Joe Montana's rules. So if they could have hit Tom Brady like they used to hit Montana and Aikman and all those guys, I don't think Brady would have won 7 championships. But we can't say that he won them. And so that's where we have to stay in. We have to stay within that lane. That's why, in my opinion, Wilt Chamberlain is the second greatest player in the world because he has all of these records and he did it. You can't take them away from him. He played in the NBA, and that's what it is. Same thing with Bam. Bam is now the second greatest scorer in a single game of all time. And the league, to me, to your point, they're promoting scoring. They promote it on a nightly basis, and it's actually what's driving their popularity, even though purists like you and myself, Leo, we probably don't respect it enough, but certainly those people that pay their money and watch it on TV, they love it. I would say that.
One more point before I do the email clip that I want to mention, and it's very short. Credit to him for making those free throws and being a very good free throw shooter. There's some centers in the NBA that can't shoot a free throw. Look, this guy played for my team. He's very impactful. I love this guy. Mitchell Robinson, my guy. But if my life depended on him making 2 free throws right now, well, let me tell my mom I love her. Okay, because I'm out of here. I'm gone. All right. So again, you got a good free throw shooter in Bam who made his free throws. Listen, you could talk about how much times he got to the line. He knocked him down. He's a good mid-range shooter. He doesn't always show his potential every single night. Sometimes he operates like a traditional big, good rebounder. You could run the pick and pop, but he's skilled. And that was on full display last night. And that's why he scored 83, along with the fact that he just had a good night and his teammates found him and gave him the rock and, helped him, aided him, because that's one thing we could agree. His teammates helped him past Kobe, which is okay. They teammates for a reason. You want to see your teammate do something good to celebrate it, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to play the Ime Udoka clip right now, and then Lee, if you want to give your thoughts on what you think how he handled that, by all means, let's run the clip.
I don't know if you saw that Bam Adebayo had 83 points tonight. I'm sure you know Bam. What are your thoughts on that and such a historic night?
Yeah, first thing you think is how, not because of him, but because of the way he plays, and I saw only made 6 threes, but 40 free throws or something like that. Tells the story right there. And the Washington Wizards.
Lee, what's your thoughts on Ime Udoka not giving Bam his respect?
Well, I think Ime took 2 shots. He took 2 shots at the league for the new rules that they've implemented that, every little touch is a foul. That's the first thing. He took a shot at the league, the NBA, to your point, in general, he took a shot at them. And then he also took a shot at the Washington Wizards. He definitely took a shot at the Washington Wizards. So, he got a lot of things he needs to be worried about, like the defense of Houston and finding somebody that can facilitate for the Rockets as they enter the playoffs. But I think he took a shot. I don't think he was really taking a shot at Bam per se at all, because he knows what type of dog Bam is. But I think the league itself and all the fouls that are called and the way the game is officiated, I think he was taking a shot at that. And then the Wizards organization, I think that they're basically saying they have no pride and they're gutless to allow him to do that, Leah. That's my thoughts.
Look, they say Wilt Chamberlain was the first to score 100. Ime was the first to score 200 when he dated Nia Long. Okay, salute to my guy, Ime Udoka, even though he fumbled her. So again, I take that back. Okay, Ime was going on there. But the reality is, it just sounded like he was player hating.
Yeah.
I understand the nature of a coach is to be competitive. I understand they had a rivalry, Bam being part of the Heat Celtics rivalry in the playoffs, every single year, pretty much it seemed like for a good moment in time. But at the end of the day, as a coach, if it was your player, you wouldn't be talking like that.
Yeah.
If Kevin Durant did what Bam Adebayo did last night, you won't be talking like that. You will be giving him credit doing exactly what Eric Spoelstra was doing for Bam, trying to get him to score 85. And that's just the reality. So, Ime, I get it, the competitive fire, but show some respect, man. It's Bam Adebayo. And that's just my thoughts. But anyway, Lee, we're going to, for those of y'all on the Can You Dig Radio Network, we're going to go to a commercial break. For those of y'all on Spotify, YouTube, we're going to move right along. And topic number 2. What should we make of the Ravens backing out of the Maxx Crosby trade? And then follow that up later on, what's next for the Raiders? And Lee, it was just on Sunday that I was on your show reacting to the move that sent Maxx Crosby to the training room of Baltimore. I assumed that he was going to be a Baltimore Raven. We talked about what that means for Baltimore and all-day Super Bowl contenders. Fast forward a couple days, the Ravens had second thoughts, and he is no longer on the team. Now, Lee, I'm going to pass it over to you again. I'm going to ride shotgun, then I'm going to give my take. What should we make about the Ravens backing out?
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. It's not unprecedented because you look at people have bagged out because you were in the legal tampering window, right? So from Monday, starting at noon, you have until 4 p.m. on today. That's when contracts can be signed. So a player could bag out. A team could back out. A player could back out and say, no, I'm not going to sign, because they're all verbal. They're all handshake deals at that point. Nothing has been signed. So I want the audience to know that first and foremost. So when you look at these contracts and they're announcing all these things, nothing is formal and nothing would be formal until today at 4 p.m. Eastern. So that's the backdrop of it. This is the thing that was kind of puzzling to me. And I, the Ravens made the trade. Okay. I would have requested the medicals on him immediately, Leo. First and foremost, I would have requested that. I know they're going to still do a physical on him when he gets there, but I would have requested the medicals before I announced anything, because they had the medicals, meaning the Raiders. The Raiders did. They had the medicals on him from his operation. I would have requested those medicals and let my doctors look at those medicals prior to making the announcement on the trade. And when you saw the images, if you had some concerns, then you wouldn't have announced it, and then you could have saved face that way. The way it looked, and I know a lot of people, my conspiracy theorist people say they just bagged out because they had buyer's remorse and they didn't want to continue with the two number ones. I disagree with that. I think when they got him there for the physical, all reports say the man couldn't even touch his toes. He couldn't bend down and touch his toes because he's 2 months away, removed from surgery. He's a week from being removed from being on crutches, so he wouldn't be able to do that. Now, they may have saw some things on the images to give them some concerns, maybe on long term or when he would be available, and that caused them. And so what they did was they said, well, he might not be able to play at the beginning of the season, and we want to give up this type of compensation. And clearly they had some remorse and said no. Now, my question is, and what we don't know is, did Baltimore go back to the Ravens once they saw that there were medical issues and say, okay, look, it's not worth two ones. Let's revise this trade. Maybe I'll give you a 1 and a 2 and make it contingent on playing time. We don't know if that occurred. But what we do know is it makes Baltimore look really bad. I know that. But I understand it. Look, they pivoted very quickly. They had already were in talks with Trey Henderson. They signed him, and they have both of that. They have those 2 draft picks back, one this year and one next year. So I think, to be honest with you, Leo, Baltimore is in a better spot right now with Hendrickson and their number 1, which is the number 14th pick, and then one next year than they were by getting Crosby, to be honest with you. And so it's crazy. It's mind blowing. The Raiders did a good job in free agency. They did a really good job in free agency. They got some quality players. They got some good defensive players. Lyndon Bob, the center, is probably the best center in the league. So they did some good things. The question is, now do you keep Crosby or do you move him? And you're not going to get what you even close to what you thought you were going to get now before this debacle with Baltimore. And I think that's what hurts the Raiders so much, that you've devalued him on the trade market. So the Raiders just need to, I think, hold on to him, get him healthy, and pair him with the people that they signed and move forward.
I mean, look, I agree in the sense that despite everything that happened yesterday, that the Ravens are in on paper a better spot than they were when they made the Maxx Crosby trade. Now, what I disagree with is the reasoning behind pivoting. Because before I came on the show, and I have it pulled up here, GM Eric DeCosta admits that the Ravens pivoted away from the trade because the Raiders outbid them for Tyler Lindenbaum.
I don't think he admitted that. Go ahead.
All right. At least that's what the reports are based off the press conference that he had today. He didn't defend the fact that, or he didn't confirm that Maxx Crosby wasn't healthy enough. So to me, when there's smoke, there's fire. Or should I say it like I'm from Texas? When there's smoke, there's fire. Okay? And look, what I would say, and Lee, I do believe it was bias remorse. Now, here's what I'm going to say here. Eric DeCosta walked himself into his own trap. And I'm going to pick up from that later on. But in the short term, it actually worked out. Now, look, I'm in sales. That's what I do for my full-time job. I'm a design consultant. And I know about buyer's remorse more than any other person that's not in sales do. It's a common thing in sales. You sell a $50,000 job. You think you made 10% of that, basically took home $5,000, and like, woohoo, I made it in one sale what I could have made in probably a month and a half at most jobs. Okay, in one job. And sometimes the person that you sold to thinks about it overnight, talk about it with their husband, and say, what the hell did I just do? And then they get up the next day, they call me on the phone, Lil, I would like to cancel the job. It happens. The Ravens traded 2 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby, a player who indeed would have filled the hole, as they had the 30th ranked pass defense, or pass rush, rather, in the league last season. But GM Eric DeCosta probably laid down at night, talked to his wife, and was like, what the hell did I just get myself into? And that's what happened to me. Now, just like in sales, most sales jobs, they have a writer rescission of 2 to 3 days to decide if they want to cancel. In NFL terms, because the Ravens and the Raiders came to their agreement before the start of the new league year, the trade was never made official, which to me is the equivalent of a writer rescission. Now, my point is that the Ravens, what they did is not illegal.
No,
it's not. They didn't sign a contract. It's not illegal. Now, do their reputation takes a bit of a hit? Yeah, as long as GM Eric DeCosta is still the owner. But here's where I pivot a little bit, Lee. I hinted at it. Eric DeCosta walked himself into his own trap. If Lamar Jackson chokes in the playoffs again, which, not going to say is very unlikely. I would hope not, because I actually want Lamar Jackson. There's a couple plays that I would actually want to see a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson is on that list. But if he has one of his famous episodes again, John Harbaugh is already gone. He was a scapegoat. Who you think is going to be the next one? Eric DeCosta, congratulations. You just made yourself the scapegoat with this pivot. Because if the Ravens choke again in the playoffs, there's no John Harbaugh to fire. You sure ain't moving away from Lamar Jackson. Eric DeCosta, you're the one that's going to go. Trust me and believe it. He set himself up. And that's my take.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what you said was right on point. You have that time. I just think when they got him in the building, Leo, I don't think it was just buyer's remorse. You lay down and the next day you get up and you say, oh shit, I done made a mistake. And I don't think that was what it was. I just think when they got him in the building, and where the remorse came in is when they saw physically where he was at, right? That's one thing for someone to say, okay, he's 2 months removed from surgery. But what does 2 months removed from surgery look like, right? When you start to see what 2 months removed from surgery looks like, then it's more of a reality right in your face. And when you touch your toes and you can't touch your toes, and then, as you know, with football, all 32 teams have their own medical staff, and each doctor may see something different on the images. their doctor may have seen something that they didn't like. They may have saw something that said, well, he might heal, but 2 years down the road, that condition might be arthritic. We don't know what their doctors told them, but their doctors definitely said something that made them think, well, we shouldn't be giving up 2 first-round draft picks for this. And that's where the remorse came in, because you're right. There was some remorse. There's no doubt about that, because they had second thoughts. But I think once those doctors looked at him and they saw him in person and some of the struggles, because let me say, the man was a week off of crutches. So you know he's not going to be physically, you know he can't pass a physical, and there's no pass fail on an NFL physical. It's whatever the doctors for that team think is a pass or physical. Each team, look, Drew Brees, you remember Drew Brees?
Yep.
He went, when he left San Diego, he was going to sign with Miami, right? Miami went down. He had a shoulder injury with the Chargers. Miami went to Miami. Miami failed him on their physical. He didn't sign with Miami. Next week, he goes to the Saints. They pass him, and the rest of it is history, right? So this is how NFL teams do it. And so I just think Baltimore felt that it wasn't the value. Now, when we see you face to face and we look at your images and we sort of look at what we want, because they didn't just get Crosby for this year. They wanted him for 3-4 years, 2, 3 to 4 years. And if they felt that they weren't going to get the same player 3 years from now, then they had some remorse. And I think that's what happened more than anything else.
I disagree.
And I think there was some buyer's remorse there.
I disagree. Look, I'm going to tell you a couple things. This debate is just getting started, folks. Grab your popcorn if you haven't already. Matter of fact, don't do it. Stay here. I'm about to hit it off. Now, you look at a couple things. When this trade was made, and we talked about it on your show on Sunday, there was 2 things, and I believe your guy said it. That was on the show. Salute to him.
Dan, yeah.
Dan the man. Salute to Dan the man in the van, right? He said that the Ravens are not contenders. Why? Because they needed what? They needed to bolster the offensive line and the wide receiving core. So what I believe happened, I believe that narrative. I do believe that they was like, okay, we could trade the 2 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby, and then we could address in free agency the line and bring it back our guy. And what I think happened was when he signed with the Raiders, which the timeline indicates the order, they was like, oh, shoot, we don't have any first rounders. How are we going to boast our line? So, and Trey Hendrickson is available, and we could get the same, if not even better production from him, because look, he led the league 2 years ago in sacks. He may be a little older than Crosby. Crosby may be the better player, but that doesn't mean that Hendrickson can't give you the same or better production than Maxx Crosby. And they was like, you know what? How about we pivot, sign him, and then get our first round picks back so we can boast the other positions of need. And another thing that I would like to tell you, Lee, and this is my home run point here, is that the Ravens never did this before. They never traded a first rounder for a veteran player. They are so used to draft and develop. This was clearly something that they never did before, and they did it. And to me, because of that, along with what I said just now, they had buyer's remorse, and that's why we're having this show right now talking about this exact topic.
Yeah, they did it, and you're right. It was out of character for them to do. They generally are a draft and develop type of organization, which I agree with. Dallas is like that as well, a draft and develop organization. But Leo, the Ravens, it doesn't matter. Offensively, they're fine. Now you have to get a center. But you can draft a center in the 3rd round that can come in and play for you. You don't have to. You're not going to spend a first-round draft pick on a center anyway. You receiving wise, they're fine. They can. They were a functional offense. They didn't lose because of their offense last year. They lost because of their defense. Couldn't stop anybody. So getting Crosby was a huge get because of his motor and how he would affect not only their front 7, but the back end. So I don't know if it's so much. You keep saying the loss of Lindenbaugh. It was a huge loss. Don't get me wrong. I think he's the best center in football. It's a huge loss. Yeah. But I don't think they pivoted because of Lindenbaugh, because they weren't
Like, you
paying.
get our best center, and then you get two firsts from me. To me, that's a fleece.
But that
They lost
wasn't
the deal.
that wasn't in the same vein.
It wasn't in the same deal, but they still got fleece. That's like you asking me for $10 to borrow, and then you pull out 10 stacks in front of me. It had nothing to do with me giving you the $10, but you had 10 stacks in your pocket. Why did you ask me for the $20?
That's a good analogy. I disagree with it, but that's a great analogy. Look, they didn't know that the Raiders were going to sign Lindenbaugh before they made the trade. So it wasn't about Lindenbaugh. They were going to lose. Harbaugh, if the Raiders didn't sign him, the Giants were looking at it. They knew. The reason they knew that Lindenbaugh probably was going to go is because, Leo, they didn't even pick up his fifth-year option. If they picked up his fifth-year option, he would have still been there. So they didn't want to pay him that type of money anyway. So that's where I think you're off there. But I can't deny that they had some buyer's remorse. There is no doubt about that. You're absolutely right. But I don't think it's because the Raiders signed their center. I just think the medicals and what they want to get out of Maxx Crosby is 3 to 4 years, 2 to 3 to 4 years, and they didn't feel that they could get it. And then they got remorse. But I don't think it's because Lindenbaugh, and I certainly don't think they were going to say, I got you, or one up the Raiders. But you're right. Wasn't signed. The league year hadn't started. So it was within their right to avoid that trade. And last thing I'll say on this, all trades are contingent on the individual that's traded passing a physical, Leo. All of them are. Every trade in the NBA, I think, every trade in the NFL, every trade in the is contingent on that.
And I think that part goes over people's heads.
And if you don't pass it, we shipped you back.
And I think that part goes over people's heads. That pending passing the physical, even though I disagree that that's what happened, but I'm glad you brought it up because we overlook that. We automatically assume that it's going through. Most times it's not. Just like how we did the show and talked about it. Oh, the Ravens. Oh my God, they got Maxx Crosby. No, they didn't. Number one, he had to pass the physical. That's number one. And number two, the Ravens had, in the NFL terms, a right of rescission because they couldn't negotiate because the calendar hadn't started to think about it further and have buyer's remorse.
You're not going to hear from the Ravens why they did it. You're not going to hear because they cannot talk about, for FERPA reasons, they cannot talk about Crosby's health. So you're never going to hear them say his medicals, his knee was this, that, or the other, or we felt that. They can't say that. So they're never going to be able to say that.
And they can't say, and another thing they can't say is, oh, I thought about it and I talked about it with my wife and I just said, what the hell did I get myself into? That's another thing they can't say either. And that's just what's the reality. Now, Lee, to end here, Mad Max, aka Maxx Crosby. You mentioned it partly in your first lap about what's next for the Raiders. But for me, I just don't see how you come back. You just got traded. And we know he was a little bit disgruntled a little bit towards the end of last year because they wanted the tank. They wanted to get their tank on, and he didn't want to sit and whatnot. He wanted to play, and that's, what happened. But to me, you just can't bring him back. Number one, you had a lot of cap space when you traded this guy. A lot. Your goal is to build around oh my God. Mendoza. Let's just go with Mendoza for right now. I'm starting to get tired. Okay. Mendoza the bulldozer. Right? That's the guy that you want to build around. And he doesn't really help that in the cap aspect of it. Now he's still a very good player, so he may help that as far as having a good player on your team, and to be that veteran in the locker room and whatnot. But he doesn't help it from a cap perspective to build and have that equity that you had when you traded him. So to me, I just can't see the Raiders pivoting, and it may happen. It's probably likely to happen that it didn't work. We just gonna rock out and act like nothing never happened. Okay, let's forget about that. It never happened, and let's move forward. I just don't think that that's possible, even though it may be what happens.
Yeah, I think this, Lil. So his cap hit is about $35 million if he's on the team this year. Now, the Raiders came into this off season with over $110 million in cap space. So they can fit him under their cap with all of the players that they brought in. So they can do that. They have enough space to do that. So that's one thing. They can fit him in. And I don't think that there was any animosity to the point that can't be healed if they wanted to keep him and bring him back on the team. I don't think that they're so far apart. I think there's mutual respect, and he truly enjoys being in Las Vegas. This is the problem that I see, and the reason I think he's coming back. His value, or what the value they wanted to get for him from a trade, has diminished a great deal.
I mean, if the physical is the route and your part or theory is accurate, then that's fair to say.
Yeah, it's diminished. So, will a team give you a 1 now? They might give you a 1, but they might give you a 1 and a 5th, right? You're certainly not going to get 2 1s. You're not going to get a 1 and a 2nd. So now teams are going to lowball you, and you have to say, is it worth it? Is he, the player, Maxx Crosby, worth it? Because you can put him in with all of the defensive additions that you got. And the Raiders did a good job in free agency. They really did. They got, they got another rusher. They got 2 stud linebackers. I mean, they did a good job. They signed their own cornerback. So they did a good job in bringing Crosby back. The team will improve. Now, they're not going to improve to be a contender. And so if you can get a 1st and a 3rd out of that can help you 1st this year, maybe a 3rd this year as well, to build more pieces. I think that would be more of what the Raiders would want to do, because I don't think that they're contenders even with what they have brought in a rookie quarterback. But I don't think him coming back is something that they're fearful of. And I certainly don't think he has animosity towards the team. I think he wanted to play for a contender and have a chance to win a Super Bowl. I don't know if that's going to happen. So his best bet might be to return to the Raiders.
Do the Cowboys pivot and give out the initial offer that they offered him, which was the 1st and the 2nd?
Nah, they offered a 1st, 2nd, and a player, Ziggy Wasu. They traded him to San Francisco, so they've traded him already to San Francisco. And I think Dallas is comfortable with what they have. They got Kenny Clark from Green Bay, so and they got the secondary players, the 2 safeties that they wanted. The other pieces were just rotational pieces that they signed. They got the big nose tackle that they really wanted to stuff to run, and then they have those 2 draft picks. So I think Dallas is out of the Maxx Crosby business. I think there are other teams who have already signed their players, Leo, that are out of the Crosby business. So that's why I say because you're only as good as what multiple people will give you for a trade, right? And that's why I think that some of these teams are out of the Maxx Crosby business because of what happened. And I just think the Raiders are probably going to bring him back and give him a hug, maybe sweeten his deal a little bit, and move on.
And maybe order him some chicken wings. How about that? Now, I mean, chicken wings will win me over. All right, let my old job say, Lil, I got you 100 chicken wings and a pay raise. I'll be back. Like my guy from the Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll be back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back for another episode coming soon. This wraps up this current episode of The Real Lil Show with my guy, Lee Jones. And Lee, if you want to plug yourself in, by all means.
Hey, y'all, check it out, man. Every week on Sunday, 6:30, please go out and subscribe to After the Buzzers Show with Lee Jones. After the Buzzers Show with Lee Jones. This is how we do it. My man Lil is a regular on there. We chop it up. It's real. It's real talk, no chaser. We get our unfiltered opinions on that show, and you're going to love it. We need you guys to comment, but please like and subscribe to my show every Sunday After the Buzzer Show with Lee Jones, 6:30 p.m.
And tune into the Real Lil Show weekdays on the Can You Dig Sports Radio Network, 10 p.m. Eastern Time to 12 a.m. We try to give you about a good 2 episodes a week if we can. Some days we just busy, but you can follow us on Spotify and YouTube, The Real Lil Show. We over there. And Lee, until next time, we out. Peace.
Sports, politics, conspiracy theories. We are here to give you our unique perspectives on things happening in the world. It's the one and only The Real Lil on The Real Lil Show.